So it's time to introduce a guest to the Ale and Audio podcast. And I'm very, very pleased to say this is a great one, actually. It was Joe from the Brew Club Hull who connected me up with this guy. And it's a great little challenge that he's doing. Obviously, everyone likes a Wetherspoons. You know, we'll get into the nitty gritty of Wetherspoons this and Wetherspoons that. But everyone likes a Wetherspoons, really, don't they? For various different reasons. It might not be something you go to all the time or very often, but occasionally there's need for a Wetherspoons, isn't there? Now, the next guy I'm going to bring on is basically set himself a challenge to try to get to every single Wetherspoon. So we're going to have a bit more of a chat about it. It's Andy. How are you doing, Andy?
Hi, Jimbo. I'm not too bad, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, all right, thank you. You sound like you've got a similar accent to Joe from the Brew Club Hull. Are you from the same sort of area?
I did live in Hull for about 5 years, but I am from a bit further up north. I'm living in Nottingham now, though. So I've been all over the shop.
Well, not too far away then. So yeah, the Wetho Wanderers. It's not just you, is it? It's you and somebody else?
Yes, it's me and my fiance. We came up with the idea back in April last year. We were just sat in a Wetherspoons in Bolton, actually. We were looking at the back of one of the magazines, and they had a map of all the hotels, and we thought maybe we should visit them all. And then we did a quick calculation, and we were like, that's quite expensive. Maybe we'll just go to all the pubs. But we must have had a few drinks, because when you actually figure it out, it's even more expensive to go to all the pubs.
Yes.
But then, we pretty much immediately just set off on a tour to try and visit as many as possible.
And how many are you up to so far, would you say?
So we've done just over 100. I think it's 103 so far. I think last count there was about 820 in the country, so about an eighth of the way there now.
That's not bad going since only, well, not even a year, is it?
Yeah, it's about 8 months, and to be fair, I think in November and December we only went to about 3 in total. So it was the summer months we were bashing them out, really.
So you managed to get to quite a lot in the summer. I'm guessing you've done quite a lot of the ones that are in the immediate area for you to get to as a starting point.
Yeah, exactly. We're sort of expanding out. So we've done all of Nottinghamshire now. I think there's a couple left in Derbyshire. We've done all of Leicestershire, and then quite far afield, we've done all of Cornwall, because we had a holiday in Cornwall, and we decided to do them all while we were down there.
Yeah. Oh well, that sounds great. Have you got any particular favourites so far that you've been to?
I think the best one we've been to so far was the White House in Leicester. That's like a big 20th century mansion. It's got a massive beer garden. It's absolutely huge. Another one was the hotel in Grimsby, the Yarborough Hotel. That one was really nice as well.
I would say that about Wetherspoons. Now, I'm not going to admit to being Wetherspoons' biggest fan for various reasons. However, I would say that there are some things that they do, and they do them particularly well. And what they do is they do pick up old buildings and they transform them and rescue them, don't they? And quite often those are buildings that might not, that they're basically empty, or maybe even, fall under, basically get destroyed or, taken down or something like that. So that's one thing that they do very well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of companies they don't want to buy a listed building because they're quite expensive to maintain and look after. But yeah, for whatever reason, Wetherspoons just seem to embrace it. They seem to like looking after them.
It's the character, isn't it, that each bar's got, and you know that generally, okay, you might have a similar look and feel in some places, but you're always going to have the sort of shell is always going to be a lot different. I mean, we've got ones around here that are in old swimming baths and things like that, and you can still sort of see where the sort of the pool might have been and stuff like that. So I mean, you said that the mansion one was particularly interesting. Are there any others that stand out to yourself?
Yeah, so there's one in Derby that's in an old bank. That's a really wonderful one. But yeah, it's like you say, you always know what you're expecting when you go to a Wetherspoons, but at the same time, the buildings are all so different that it's just, you can never really tell what you're going to get.
And of course, the carpets as well. I'm guessing you've seen the carpets account on Instagram before.
Yes. There's I think there's a book as well that's been released of all the carpets as well. Yeah, it's always nice to see a nice carpet.
Yeah, I was a fan of that account actually, because I've not seen it for a while. I don't know if they've got through most of them, but have you been? I've got to ask, have you been to the one in Chapeltown, Sheffield yet?
No, we're waiting to do, because South Yorkshire actually has the most Wetherspoons of any county, so we've not quite got around to that challenge yet. The only Sheffield one I think we've done is the Steel Foundry in Meadowhall.
Yes, yeah. So that's quite an easy one to get to because of the train links and stuff like that. But yeah, when you are in Chapeltown, in Sheffield, let us know and feel free to call past a lot smaller looking pub than you might be used to here in the Ale and Audio studio.
Still full of character, though, I imagine. That's the beauty
That's
of
it.
it.
That's it. And I mean, like I say, Wetherspoons is, it's one of those places. I mean, I don't tend to go in our local one very often. I am very, very glad it's there because I do think I've got to say this. As much as I kind of have my ups and downs with Wetherspoons, and how sometimes the ownership and stuff like that. What I will say about Wetherspoons is that if there wasn't one in our area, I think our area would be significantly worse off. There was a period of time where the pub where Wetherspoons is now closed down, and it didn't look like it was going to reopen. Wetherspoons reopened it up, and it kind of brought a bit more life back to the sort of centre of Chapeltown where I live. And I think it did ultimately benefit the other pubs around it as well. Say something that's you might agree with.
Yeah, I think, like you said, they get quite a lot of flack for, as you said, the ownership. But when you go to an individual one, they are quite important in
Mm,
whatever community they're in. They're always busy. I've never really seen a quiet Wetherspoons, and like you said, I don't think they do, any damage to the local pubs. I think there's a lot of space for a lot of pubs still.
yeah, exactly. And like I said, I think having one in our area, it kind of brings people out for that, and then they sort of lead off that and try and explore the other areas as well. The smaller little micro bars, or like the cocktail bars that might spring up and stuff like that as well. So I think it's it is really, really sort of like beneficial for that. And the other thing is the reason we always end up at Wetherspoons is usually at the start of a stag do. If you ever go in at like 7 o'clock on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday morning, you can guarantee there's stag do's, end do's everywhere, getting ready to head off to the airport or wherever, waiting for the minibuses and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We have seen that. I mean, that's another one of the beauties of Wetherspoons. It's got such a cross section of people. You can have a stag do in one corner, and then in the other corner, there's a group of old men playing dominoes. It's just everyone likes the Wetherspoons at some point.
Exactly. Is there any parts of the country that you've kind of complete, or which areas have you done the most of then in terms of the ones that you visited?
So we've done all of Nottinghamshire. We've done all of Leicestershire. We've almost done all of Derbyshire. We've been down to Cornwall and we've done all of
Of
Cornwall,
course, yeah.
and we've done all of the Isle of Wight. Although there's only a couple in Isle of Wight. So in April we've got a trip to Dublin planned. So we're going to rent a car and try and go do all the Irish ones as well. And then sometime in the summer, I think we're going to try and tick off all the Welsh ones on a big sort of road trip, camping trip sort of thing.
Very good. Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds like you've got a good plan there. And I mean, the other thing as well is that you will. I mean, I'm guessing you've probably found this if you've gone around. But the other thing about Wetherspoons is that I bet as you've been to each one, you've been able to spot local ales in there as well, because they do kind of get a fair few guest ales in from their local. But I know they do it with ours. I they get Bradfield Brewery in my local one at Chapeltown. But I'm guessing you're finding that a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a beer festival coming up in March, I think, where they're getting some beers from all over the country. Some from, I think there's one coming from Taiwan. But as you say, when you go to any across the country, you get specific ales from there. So here in Nottingham, we get quite a lot of Castle Rock and
Hmm.
Nottingham Brewery ales, and some from Derby. When you go to Cambridge, you get some from Cambridgeshire, and when you go down to Cornwall, you get a lot of St Austell, that sort of thing. So it is good for picking up ales that you probably wouldn't come across otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you're not going to get a chance to try a lot of them, are you? So, it's a really good way to kind of if you land at a Wetherspoons in an area you're not familiar with, and you're guaranteed to find some local ale there as well, aren't you? Which is pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can always have they're one of the best pubs for doing a taste before you buy a pint.
Hmm.
So you can always find out what you like. If you like the pump clip, have a taste of it and then get yourself a pint. It's brilliant.
Of course, my gran loves it as well because of the really sort of pretty cheap food, basically the affordable food, and it's pretty good as well. It's decent, half decent. It's really good. Is there anything you usually go for on the menu, or do you go across it all? Are you on those curry nights that they do and stuff like that as well?
The curry nights are quite good. We like the half chicken. That's probably the
Okay.
best value for money for getting a big substantial amount of food. But we tend to, if we're doing like a day where we're going to go to a few of them, we'll always start one early, have a full breakfast, and then travel around, do a few spoons, and then at night we might finish off with a big pizza or a half a chicken or something like that.
Well, sounds like it. So you're pretty again, and there's something else you can expect. The menu is generally the same wherever you go into. I think.
Yeah, there's a few local sort of dishes. I think there's a few. It might actually be in Yorkshire where they're doing some curries that they're not doing elsewhere. And I think if you
Okay.
go up to Scotland, you get a slightly different menu as well. But yeah, as you say, it's generally the same across everywhere. The prices are roughly the same within a pound. So it's that standardization that's quite good.
Is there any Wetherspoons you've been to that you would say have been the friendliest in terms of like either the locals or just the staff? Is there any that stand out for any particular reason?
Um, I mean, sometimes Wetherspoons gets a bit of flack for its clientele, but we've
Mm.
always found, just friendly, perfectly approachable people. I mean, I have to go in them and then I take a picture of the Wetherspoons, and there's some pubs where you wouldn't you wouldn't want to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but when we've been to a few in Yorkshire, over in East Yorkshire in Hull, Yorkshire's always friendly, isn't it? Um, and yeah, there's sometimes when I'm taking a photo and someone will be like trying to wave and be like, "Did you get me in the photo?" So yeah, you always get a friendly group, I think.
Great. And is there any particularly on your list that you're eyeing up as in there's a particular one that you want to go to for a certain reason?
Um, so I try not to look at them before we visit them. So I'll look at them on a map and see sort of, oh, we're going here, we'll do these. But I don't like to look at any pictures of them because I don't like spoilers. Whereas my fiance, she likes to get a little taster before we go. So I've not got any in mind. However, they've just opened a new one in London. So eventually we'll get around to doing London. That'll be quite a good one. And they're opening one quite soon on Primrose Valley in Filey. So that should be quite interesting because that's a unique one.
Yeah,
Hull
yeah.
Uni as well. They turned the Students' Union into a Wetherspoons. They were
Wow.
the first ones to do it, and then Newcastle Uni have done the same thing. So at some point we'll get up to Newcastle and do that one. That one should be quite exciting.
If you've been keeping up with the news as well, you might have a few more to add to your list because it sounds like is it some of the Haven holiday parks are going to be sort of letting Wetherspoons run their bars and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, so Primrose Valley is like the
All right.
pilot of that program, and then I think, like you said, I think there's something like 30, maybe 40 Haven
Mm-hmm.
holiday parks where they're thinking of putting a pub on. So yeah, the numbers might be going up. I mean, they've said that they want to have 1,000 pubs, so
Yeah, and of
might be a
course
losing battle.
they've had to close a few as well, haven't they? So is there any on the list that you've already done that you've that have sadly closed since you visited them?
Yeah, so in Loughborough there was two originally, and one of them's closed. We went to both of them before they closed, and in Mansfield there was two, and they were literally around the corner from each other. They were about a 1 minute walk, and they've closed one of them. And we visited that one before it closed as well.
Ah, right, okay. So, and obviously the other thing is with your target, if it's something like over 800 into it, and you've done like we
Yeah.
reckon about 1/8 of those, have you got a particular time scale in mind, or are you kind of just keeping that open?
Well, at the rate we're doing it, it's going to take us till about 2030. So I'm hoping that we can speed up a little bit and start to tick them off. I mean, if we can do places like Wales and Scotland in sort of one hit, that's going to be a big chunk. But I think it's once we get to London, that's going to be quite an endeavour. But yeah, if we can get to maybe 250, 300 by the end of this year, I think that'll be good going.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, you've done an amazing job already, getting around as many of you had in just that short amount of time. I think the final thing I forgot to ask actually. So we sort of talked about the local ales that you might sample in each one as well. But is there a go-to drink you normally look for when you go into? Because obviously a lot of them will have a sort of similar line range of drinks. Is there anything that you go for generally when you go in?
So I always like to try the guest ales. I always like to see
Okay.
what's going on, try the local ones. But I do like that Wetherspoons always has Left on tap. That's
Uh-huh.
a staple of mine. I'm not a fan of a lot of the normal lagers, but Left is an absolutely
Yeah.
delightful Belgian drink. And back before Brexit, there used to be a lot of Belgian beers in Wetherspoons. You could get Quack and all sorts, and sadly they disappeared. But I've noticed that some of them have started coming back. A pub local to us is selling Fruly again, which is my girlfriend, my fiance's favourite drink. She loves that. So I'm hoping that they're going to get a few more Belgian beers in. They've started doing craft cans. They tend to be quite local as well. I know some of the ones in Yorkshire do like craft from Kirkstall, and I think Siren might be a local brewery. So yeah, it is good to see that the range is expanding.
The last thing I thought we definitely need to mention before you go, I think it's a great question to finish on, or more of a statement. You must have got a pretty good bladder because of those toilets and the distance you have to cover.
Oh yes, some of them are very far away. Some of them are basically a different building.
Brilliant. Well, it's been a great chat with you, Andy. I'm going to be following your story very closely and obviously your journey with trying to get to all of those Wetherspoons. So your Instagram account, so you're on Instagram, aren't you, which is Wetho Wanderers. Are there any other things people can follow or find out more about you? Have you got a blog or anything like that?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram. We've got Twitter. Both of them are at Wetho Wanderers. And then we've got a blog, wethowanderers.com. That's where we post sort of longer length reviews and pictures of each of the spoons that we go to.
Brilliant. Love it. Well, Andy, it's been brilliant chatting with you.
It's been great. Thank you for having me on, Jimbo.
Yeah, good luck with your challenge, and maybe next time we'll be chatting, we'll have a bit of a catch up as to where you're up to.
Definitely. Have a good one, mate.
You too. Cheers, Andy.